All right, everybody, Chase March here, Women in Hip Hop 9. This is always one of my favorite shows of the year to do, where we spend the entire overnight focusing on hip hop's better half. And right now we're going to do it with a roundtable discussion with three amazing MCs. So we'll let them introduce themselves so you can hear what they sound like and their names and everything.
What up? My name is Cassette, representing Vancouver, BC. I've been rapping most of my life. If you're interested in peeping my music, you can check me out on Instagram at Cassette604, and it's spelled just the way you spell cassette, Cassette.
And hello, my name is Raxx. Raxx is in the cut. I'm from Toronto, Ontario. Shout out. I've been rapping my whole life, but I just came out of the closet, as I guess people say, with rap since April, and it's just been blowing up ever since.
Okay, what's good? My name is Skulastic. Not spelled the way that it sounds. It's Skulastic. I've been rapping and making music since about 2009. I also am a producer. I've produced for other artists. I make my own beats. I recently got into shooting and editing my own music videos as well. You can check me out on YouTube, youtube.com/ScholasticC. That's SKULASTICSEE.
Well, thank you all three of you for joining me. And just to note, the beats that are playing in the background for this hour are all going to be Scholastic beats.
Right
so
on.
We'll let that happen.
Nice. That's what's up.
And we will sprinkle in some of your music during the show. And also, if you're just tuning in now, we have like mix sets and interviews and all sorts of great things happening. So it's a super show. It's not just 2 hours like you're used to every week. And we do this for International Women's Day, which is March 8th every year. And we rebroadcast it. So it goes 2 weeks in a row, and the segments go in opposite order. So if you don't want to listen the whole night and you only listen half the night, the next week, listen half the night and you'll get the whole show. So what we're doing is a roundtable discussion, and we're just going to talk about issues relating to hip-hop and specifically women in hip-hop with these three very cool artists. You've heard them on the show before. We did Skulastic a few years back for the All Women's Voices Day. So if you like what you hear, you can dip back in the archives for that at chasemarch.com and thewordisbond.com. So, first question, ladies. What is your impression of feminism? What does it mean to you? And do you use the label feminist?
I personally don't use the label feminist. I try to stay away from even the term female rapper or femc altogether. I mean, I'm an advocate towards female empowerment, and I say that a few times within my songs, but in my opinion of feminism pertaining to hip-hop, I want to be treated as just an artist. I don't want to have that division spoken vocally. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of women say, oh, I'm a female rapper, femc. I strive towards being an equal as a female rapper, but I try not to even feed into that subject because I feel like it'll just subconsciously create a division between men and women in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with Cass on that one, actually. To be honest, like, I think there's feminism, and it has like two meanings to me. It has that one meaning as it's portrayed in the media, where like feminists and the word feminism is all about protesting and preaching and kind of highlighting our differences. And then there's another meaning to it where you have like these super powerful women that embody the word feminism without being so vocal about it. And the way that they carry themselves and their actions and their confidence says it all, and they don't have to use the word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm with Cass on that one. I like don't really use the word femc like ever. I'm not really for it, but I am for powerful, outspoken women who do their thing without labeling themselves as a feminist or like, you know, I'm a woman, hear me roar. It's just like the way that they stand and the way that they speak says it all. And that's all we really need at the end of the day.
Yeah. And for me too, like with the whole thing, I do actually enjoy saying that I am a female hip hop artist because there aren't many out there, and it's like, and I'm proud to say it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so that's another aspect of it. And I really believe that this year is like the year of female and female music. And like, there's so many grants out there for music videos right now for girls, and like the hashtag Me Too and all that. So it's just, feminist is a funny word. I'm more about equality too. Like, I like to be on the same level as everything, but shout out Boss Positions, right? Like, we're out there.
Well, and I think there's a difference between feminism and female empowerment too, right?
Right. For
And
sure.
I think you'd be proud to be a female rapper in the rap game, but like I say in one of my bars, is like, skills speak for themselves. So when you hear somebody rap, you hear their skill within their art, not saying, oh, she's dope for a female, you know, because I've just had that my whole life is, oh, you're not bad for a girl, and that just pisses me off. You know what I mean? Like, it just pisses me off. But we should be proud to be females in the rap game, because it's not easy at all.
It isn't, no.
Yeah, and that "you're good for a girl" comment is very annoying when there's some female MCs that could just totally kill some of the males on the mic.
I know.
Yeah?
I had a show the other day, and I was the only female to perform, and we're on a cypher like early on in the night. I was the only girl, and literally none of these boys had fucking bars. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, we need to, like, I don't know, girls are taking over. That's all I can say.
They are. And you know what? Like, back in the day when I first started, I would have heard that comment, but I hear it way, like, less frequently nowadays, because I think so many females are coming up, and there's so many female artists, like, down in the States and in Canada and BC, Vancouver, like, and they're all so super talented and doing their thing. I would have heard it a lot more back in the day when I first started than I do now. So I think that's really good to see.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is like differentiating between being respected for your skill and not for your sex appeal as well, because there's a lot of women that compensate for their skill based on their sexual image, right? Like,
I'm guilty for that. Like, I rap about sex a lot. Like,
well, and I mean, that's fine, that's your art, but I'm talking about, like, if you're, like, half naked and twerking and your bars are trash, right?
no, true. And there's some of the, I'm not going to say names because I'm not going to start beef, but there's girls in Toronto, yo, that, like, they're haters, too. Like, they don't understand. I don't know. I'm very old school. Like, I like old school shit. I don't like this new school bullshit. And there's a lot of girls out here, like, trying to be something they're not. Like,
yeah.
And that's what's annoying. That's another annoying aspect.
That's so true. If you're kind of like, if you have like nothing but like a good look and your bars are trash and your music sucks, and then you're just kind of using your good looks to like as a crutch.
Yeah, and that's totally common.
I think if like your music is good and like your flow is on point and you're doing you and, you know, staying true to yourself, like, I remember doing an all-females track, Cassie would know, with Loza and Benzozit, and I had a line where I was like, you know, shout out to all my females that show a little skin. Just because I don't rock it don't mean it ain't expression, right? Yeah. Like, just because I'm not on, like, I do what's comfortable for me, so all I can do is expect and respect the same from others, right?
Well, and I think there's a fine line too. Like, you got to stay within your feminine energy and use that beauty within staying true to yourself. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think there's just women that are just holding onto that sexual value, the shock value behind it. You know, and I think it's important in the word feminism as well, is to stay within your feminine energy, like, you know, and the masculine energy and the female energy. There is a separate energy between that as well, but within a graceful way too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like, it's pretty gross, man. Like, some of the that I see, like Nicki Minaj flexing on some of her videos, I'm like, wow.
that's her thing though. But Nicki's got bars and she's allowed to do whatever. If you look back at old Nicki too, like she was like just like us, like just chilling and like didn't go that extra. But now she's got the money to be extra. So.
Well,
I know like Nicki Minaj is like mainstream and stuff, but
Yeah.
I do give her some props for having some balls and being like, this is my sexuality, and also I'm kind of, calling the shots. I'm in control.
Well, what I'm actually really talking about is that video Anaconda. Like, I don't give a shit what anyone says. That was a pretty disgusting video. Like, I was totally appalled by that. But then it's kind of a double-edged sword because I was thinking, wow, if my child is watching that, I would be devastated. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I was pumping Easy when I was 12 years old.
Right?
And my dad was
Yep.
like, why are you listening to this? You're a white girl from the country. Like, you can't even relate to this. But I loved it. So, I mean, it's just the world's evolving in different shock values, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think it's about being true to who you are. Like Cassette said earlier, some people, that's who they are. They're
Yeah.
more sexualized and they want to bring it out. But since we were just talking about Nicki Minaj, there's one thing that I've noticed, and I've noticed this time and time again, that there seems to be only like one female rapper that people talk about.
Right.
Like Nicki Minaj was huge, but like just last year, she got completely eclipsed by Cardi B,
Right.
and all I hear is people talking Cardi B all the time. So why does it seem to be that we can only have one female rapper that we talk about at a time?
I don't think it's about one female rapper at all. It's more about like the shock value of people too. That like Nicki was hot, or Cardi was hot for a really long time on like Love and Hip Hop or whatever. Like she was on that, and she kept hustling and hustling and hustling like for a long time to get where she's at. And she kept putting out music and putting out music. And then like I don't know, a big thing about music too is like you gotta have like these scandals to get attention too. Like and someone was talking to me about that the other day. It's like it doesn't matter how talented you are and what blah 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 blah. Like a lot of the things that people blow up from is like some scandals or something, like someone's nudes get leaked or someone's having a rap battle with someone like Tory Lanez and Chroma's in Toronto like getting arrested.
I don't think it's like just about one female being in the spotlight. I think it's about like one artist, and like the public's attention span is so short. And I think I see the same thing in like males, like it's all about Drake. Oh, it's all about Eminem. It's never about both of them. It's only about one of them at one given point, and one overshadows the other. I don't think that's like a gender thing. I think that's more of like a media, public attention thing,
Yeah.
Well, I think too is like what hip hop's platform is based on is a competition beef as well. So,
Yeah.
and I think there is a little bit of restriction when it comes to the females and the, Cardi eclipsing Minaj because, like I said, it's such a limited area of female rappers, and I've kind of looked into Nicki. She's a bully, man, and she doesn't like people taking her shine. I think automatically there's just such few and far between female rappers in the mainstream that the public just wants to pin them against each other no matter what, right?
Totally. I agree with you 100%. Beef and competition, people will make up competition even when it's not there.
Exactly.
And in reality, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj don't like each other anyways, right? Like, I don't know if you guys saw, like, Cardi B, like, threw a shoe at Nicki Minaj at this, like, high-class event or whatever.
Cardi's a real bitch. Like that's
she's ratchet, man. I like Cardi. It's funny though. Like
I love it.
I like Cardi more than Minaj in ways, but like Cardi doesn't have the bars that Nicki does, but she's got that heat. But like when I hear Cardi talk, she's a little too ratchet for me. But she's from the Bronx, right? Like.
I like Cardi B. I think like for me personally, and it all boils down to like personal preference and like individual context. I like Cardi B. Like she kind of seems a little bit more down to earth, and I don't know, the vibe and the impression that I get from Nicki Minaj is kind of on the snobby side.
Yeah, and it's
not to say that she is not like a good rapper and like a good artist, but just the personal vibe that I get, right? So I don't.
Well, and let's be realistic. Do we know any other mainstream female rappers out there? Like there was Iggy Azalea. It seemed like she kind of.
Bad Barbie's on the come up, yo, and I felt with Bad Barbie. Like it catch me outside.
Oh man, I hate that.
No,
shit so bad.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that new track, that
Dr. Phil, the Dr. Phil chick.
Cash me outside.
She actually got bars. I'm telling you, she got hooked up with a sick producer, and like I don't know if I just like the beat, but I don't know.
I studied her a little bit on the performance, and it was pretty bad, but you know, whatever, that's fine. Like
she's coming to Toronto in May. Trying to fucking get on that bill.
I can't diss her, man. She became super successful in what she's doing.
But then again, going back
value too, right? I mean, like it's like some white girl with dreads who's like threatening to beat up her mom on probation, and then she gets into rapping, like, and she's like 13. Obviously, everybody wants to see what that's all about.
That's going back to the whole shock value thing, like.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
See, I don't think she is a rapper. I think somebody just saw, that Dr. Phil chick mean, let's make her one.
Yeah, she's a puppet. I mean, I gotta get on Dr. Phil, yo.
You are listening to Women in Hip Hop 9. This is the roundtable discussion with Cassette, Skulastic, and Raxx. Thank you once again for being part of this. Let's change the topic a little bit. And I probably know the answer for Raxx already, but how do you feel comfortable listening to rap music when so much of it is misogynistic, and how do you maneuver being in that space yourself?
My music, like, I talk about the female perspective as well. Like, if you listen to my music, like, I get dirty with it, and like, but I like, and that's the new wave, I think, is just like being a female. I don't give a fuck what people think. Like, I'm gonna talk about what I want to talk about, and like, if men want to talk about sex, men want to talk about girls, cool, that's on them. I'm gonna do the exact same thing, and I don't give a fuck what people think, you know?
That's dope. I kind of agree with her, to be honest with you. I hear men talk about girls in a sexual way, but then I've also heard a lot of dope female tracks where the woman is like talking about men in a sexual way, like, you know,
yeah,
like, I'm gonna get mine, he did this, he did that, and like all this other stuff, and I think that's really dope. And it also like pertains to context too, right? There's certain like songs, if a woman is sexualized and it kind of is a positive for her, it's like, I don't know how to word it properly, but it like sexualizes her where she feels sexy, or she's made out to be the sexy one. That is very cool. But on the flip side, if it's like a song where it's like downgrading and belittling in a sexual way, well, that kind of like might stand out to me, and I might not be cool with that. So basically, I think it's like a song per song basis.
Yeah. There's two sides of it, like being disrespectful and then being real.
Well, it's such a double standard in that way too, because I just got in a discussion online about that, and my buddy, he's like basically disagreeing with women that speak on sexual content within their songs, but like a lot of his songs, he's talking about bending chicks over all the time and stuff. And I think like if you want to rap what you want to rap, that's cool, because if you want to rap in a sexual way, that's your own expression. I mean, I don't really talk about that much about it, but I think people need to stop taking things seriously, and just have fun with it, you know, and you know, and if the guy's like, you know, talking about hoes, you know, I think a girl can flip that too and be like, yeah, you know, I just got with this guy last night and I kicked him out of my bed, and
exactly.
You know, you gotta play. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So, and I think a lot of men that get bitter about it is they have their own negative views within women. So they're you know, it's just like, for example, Raxx had this Instagram video of her rapping, and a couple men were like, oh, she's talking about pussy too much. And Raxx said, well, I'm sorry, it just sounds like you haven't had a girlfriend in a really long time and you sound bitter.
Nice.
And that hit home, obviously.
He didn't come back with nothing after that. No, but and that's the thing. Like, these guys, I think it's, maybe it makes them uncomfortable. I don't give up though. Like, it's my pussy. I'm allowed to talk about my pussy if I want to. My pussy is great, and I'm proud to be a hoe too. Like, I can go out there and I can pick up as many guys as the next little fuck boy over here. Like, and I don't give a if I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. And like, and every girl should have that thing. They shouldn't be like, oh, like I don't want to be judged and I don't want to be acted like a whore. No, like fuck that. Like, own it. Like, own it.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. And I think it kind of boils down to like context too, right? Like, there's some songs I feel that are like sexual about women, and they make me feel sexual. They make me feel good. And, you know, majority, more times than not, they're like party tracks, and I'm vibing out with them. And then there's some songs that are just like negative in that sense. So I think there's like a big difference.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know what I mean? Where you hear some songs
Totally.
and you're like, oh yeah, that's me, you know, I'm like that sexy woman. I'm that like woman he's rapping about. And there's some songs where I'm like, what in the world? Did you like pick up some street trash, or like what's going on? Like,
Absolutely.
that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not vibing with that.
Well, and people, like I say, just gotta stop taking shit so goddamn seriously, man.
I agree. Like, I do a radio show on college radio, so there's all sorts of different weird music that you can hear at any given day and at any given time. And I remember one time I played a song that was kind of offensive lyrically, and a listener texted the station and said that she'd been listening to the station for 24 hours and she had liked what I'd played up until that point, but was turning off the radio now. And I was like, oh man, I lost a listener, and it made me feel bad, and then it made me analyze that song in particular and why she was offended by it and turning the station off.
Why was she up for 24 hours is my question.
You know, I also think not only is it based on context and like the individual, but like for me personally, it's also like based on the artist too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have someone like Tupac, who I love, and he'll be like, yo, that's why I fucked your bitch. But then he also does a song like Dear Mama, right? So I have a personal connection with him either way. And I'm gonna like relate and vibe to what he says.
That's a big thing too. With like, art is subjective, and I think being a successful artist is someone who connects with your fans and like makes people relate to you. And like for me, like the reason I kind of came out and like started doing music was like it helped me out of a big depression, and anything I was feeling, I just wrote it. And it started from poetry and starting to write poetry, and then turned more into rapping just because of my love for music. Like, music is just such a antidepressant, like better than any drug, better than any chemical.
Sure, for sure.
So
yeah, for sure.
You're listening to Women in Hip Hop 9. This is the roundtable discussion. We got Skulastic, we got Raxx, and we have Cassette. And this is part of our International Women's Day special. The entire overnight is dedicated to hip-hop's better half, with mixed sets, artist interviews, roundtable discussions, hip-hop history segments, and whatever else we feel like throwing in. So thank you for being part of it. Unfortunately, we pre-recorded this, so we can't take any live calls or questions right now. But, you know, we had to make this work.
Hey, what up? This is Skulastic, and you are listening to the annual Woman in Hip Hop special on Word is Bond, Rap Radio, and Dope FM.
You are listening to Women in Hip Hop 9. This is the roundtable discussion with Cassette, Skulastic, and Raxx. We were just talking about artists in particular, and I wanted to go down that rabbit hole for a minute because I saw R. Kelly trending recently on Twitter, and I couldn't figure out why everyone was suddenly up in arms about R. Kelly, because we've known about that dude and what he's been doing for a long time. Yeah. And then I found out, oh, it was a documentary. So why do you think it takes a documentary for that stuff to come out? Like, I was listening to some old cassettes I had of campus radio, and in the 90s people were talking about R. Kelly being shady. So, any thoughts on that?
They made fun of him on SNL, you know, like, or was it Dave Chappelle, like, I'm gonna piss on you?
Yeah, that was David. I don't know. I think because with all this Me Too thing, and then the exposure of like Bill Cosby, and
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of just investigated a little bit on the documentaries. I guess, like, you know, he had that girl in hiding for over a year, and the family like finally spoke out, but I don't know.
I haven't watched the documentary, but why would the family I'm not sticking up for him at all, but why would they let their girl go live with a famous whatever and just like not report it for a year or whatever it was? I didn't watch it, but that's just, to me, is just a little weird. And then it's like, all this stuff's coming out. So, and that's another thing that kind of sucks with situations like this, is because fake people come out too, right? And they say things because things are coming out, and it takes away from the actual people that got, like that have suffered in situations like this. It's just unfortunate, but who knows? We don't know.
I can't comment too much on this subject because, like, I don't have cable and I'm not really much into the news. My bad. I really kind of, like, am not really all about what's going on out there today in the world, even though I probably should be. But one thing I did notice is that, like, people in the media, they like to spotlight criminality and scandal. That goes without saying. Like, Bill Cosby and all these people that have, like, abused women and sexually assaulted women, and it's always out there everywhere. And I would like to think that there's people out there that are, like, maybe empowering women, and if they are out there, they're definitely not getting spotlighted or, you know, having as much, like, media light put on them and their stories. And so that's kind of like one observation that I've made out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I didn't want to watch the documentary. Like, I don't even like watching documentaries anymore because they seem so forced, and it's just like, why is this even a thing, and why are we talking about this? I mean, it's funny to see that people are now, you know, being regretful for have worked with R. Kelly, and some artists that are taking their collaborations down off of streaming services, which makes me wonder about Spotify and other services like that, because I remember a little while back they were thinking about taking certain artists off their platform. And do you think there should be moral clauses for record companies or streaming services where they're not going to play an artist who, like a Chris Brown or a R. Kelly, or, you know, should we take the Cosby Show off the air? Things like that. How do you guys feel about that?
I agree. I think they should be having moral clauses for pedophiles. One thing that I kind of just been questioning is, like, for example, in the film industry, even if you're remotely accused for a sexual allegation, you're basically banned from the industry. They will take you off their show, no questions asked. And it was actually, in my opinion, getting a little bit out of hand with the sexual allegations for actors and stars. But it seems to have way more lenience towards musical artists. And I don't know, like, it's very evident R. Kelly is not a good person, and he is a pedophile, and maybe, you know, things came to the surface way later than they should, and there could be multiple reasons as to why it came out now. But I truly and wholeheartedly believe that these platforms and services should not be supporting terrible people like this at all. Like, they need to be setting the standard, and I feel strongly about that.
Yeah.
I think it's, like, a really good notion, but it'd be really hard to impose, because if you're going to do that, you have to think about all of, like, the people that are also criminally active and making music, drug dealing, killing people, robbing people, still making music, you know, not whatever, like, abusing their spouses or abusing other women, or just because, like, he is, like, in the mainstream and it's been so magnified, you can't, like, take that one story and expect the music industry to bow down and, like, change their policies and their
no, I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not even just saying R. Kelly. Like, what about Chris Brown? Like, he didn't even seem to have any consequences for beating the shit out of Rihanna, and he just got re-signed. Like, what? I just think it's just messed up, man. Like, there's no consequences for this at all.
You know what? It's also, like, the magnitude and the media attention that he's reaching, the magnitude and the population that he's reaching. I mean, I hate to bring this one up, but, like, I saw on a post and I read on an article that Africa Bambaataa, like, you know, the founder of hip hop, quote unquote, that he was allegedly accused of raping little boys when he, like, started his foundation and his nation and stuff like that. So, like, you know, it can't be, like, exclusive just to mainstream popular people. If you're going to impose a moral clause, it's got to be...
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they should be targeting only mainstream rappers. Like, But you got to take into consideration, in the film industry, you're completely wiped out of your career. So why isn't that being this pertain to the music industry? Even if, let's say, you were accused of raping a little boy, yeah, you shouldn't be on Spotify. If you're small as that guy, or you're big as R. Kelly, like,
it's such a thin line, and it's such a blurry line, because, like, look at somebody like Michael Jackson. Are you gonna wipe his whole catalog off?
No, that's
digital
true.
media platforms?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I just watched the documentary of R. Kelly, and the guy is a sick dude, man. Like, I'm not absolutely appalled.
I'm saying,
but yeah, I get what you're saying.
It would be something. It would be something like nice to see, sort of, but it would be really hard to impose, and it would be really hard to justify, and rationalize, and make it.
And I understand what you're saying.
Even across the board.
I know, and even if we did take R. Kelly and just wipe him off like he didn't exist, then people would be saying, oh yeah, like what about African Bambaataa, and what about James Brown, because James Brown had some questionable things going on.
Brown. Yeah, I know. Everyone's just up.
I was just gonna say,
I love James Brown too, and I love Michael as well.
That's my boy.
Call me a big hypocrite. I think maybe it might lead into your next question, but there is a big thing where you separate art from artist, for sure.
Yeah, and I talked to one person on the show, and he's like, don't ever do that to me. Don't ever separate me from my art. And it made me really think and question things, because, Bill Cosby aside, I love Heath Huxtable, right? Like, that guy was the best dad ever, and that show was so positive.
Yeah.
And when they started pulling the Cosby Show off the air, I was like, we needed that show.
Yeah.
We needed a show like that to show that, that it wasn't just white people on TV, and it broke a lot of barriers. And I'm like, so sometimes I separate art from artists, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't play Chris Brown. I used to play Ignition Remix all the time as a DJ, because that always gets the party hype. Always.
That joint.
That was the.
But I'm like, should I not play that anymore? And, I really think about that. I'm like, maybe I'm not going to play that unless it gets requested a bunch of times. I don't know.
It won't be anymore, because people are just hating.
Maybe, but you never know. So, yeah, definitely hard to do, to separate art from artists, and definitely hard to get moral clauses in there, because where do we draw the line? Like, I got parking tickets, so you're going to pull me off, like.
That's true too, right?
Well, I mean, parking tickets are a little bit less intense than but yeah, I know what you're saying.
I ran a red light the other day and I got a ticket.
I just talked my way out of an $80 parking ticket today. I'm pretty proud of myself.
That's pretty good.
$80? Where were you parking?
I was parked at Rev's bowling alley, and they gave me an $80 parking ticket, and I got out of it. So
good girl.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway.
You're listening to Women in Hip Hop 9. This is the International Women's Day special that we do every year on Dope FM and Word is Bond. And it's part of our overnight special. So way more than 2 hours tonight. We're going all night long, focusing on hip hop's better half with mixed sets, interviews, and discussions just like this one. We have Cassette, we have Skulastic, and we have Raxx on our phone lines right now. And thank you for joining us if you're listening, and definitely thank you for being on our phone lines.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always fun to do this and have a discussion that's not necessarily related just to the new music that you're dropping. So something that, I just kind of stumbled on by chance like 9 years ago, when it was like the 100th anniversary of International Women's Day. And I was like, oh, what's that? I hadn't really heard of it before. And I always try to shine a spotlight on female MCs, and like we talked about earlier, I don't even like saying a female MC. I'm not going to play someone because they're a female. I'm going to play rap that I like. So that's what I do on this show. So we're talking about kind of the Me Too era there. Hashtag Me Too. Do you think it worked? And are we in a new era now?
Absolutely. I think it's opened a lot of doors for people that were scared to come forward, because I actually work in the film industry. I've been in it since this whole Me Too movement started. So I've seen it evolve. I've seen everything happen, and it's been crazy. And I'm telling you right now, like, I know how that stuff works, and there's actresses and actors trying to get roles, and they have to like kiss up to these people, and it's all about who you know. And I know that these things, like Harvey Weinstein is a monster, and he used that to his advantage, knowing that these young girls, they're hungry actresses, starving artists, they want this role, whatever it takes to get that role. And I know that it happens a lot. And since this Me Too movement, girls are able to speak about it and not be so scared that it's like, okay, so it's not only me that has to go on a date with this guy. And that kind of plays in with music too, because as a female MC, I feel like you guys probably have felt with the same thing, and guys wanting to work with you, and then you try to work with them, and then they're just like trying to date you, and it's just like super annoying in that sense. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that.
I actually went through that last year. This guy offered to do a live video shoot for me, and yeah, just said, oh, no worries, like I'm happy to help out a local artist. And so I got there, and I totally figured out the motive was to get into my pants. And from there on, I said, I'm not letting anybody do me any favors. If I want to do a music video or whatever, I'm paying for it professionally. And it's hard because you don't want to be interacting with male artists thinking they have an ulterior motive, but it happens constantly that you got to have your guard up in that way.
Yeah. I'm not saying every male artist either. Like, shout out the male artists out there. Like, I love all of them, but it happens more than you think that guys just try to holler at you, like music, and they use that against you to be like, oh, but like, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? So that's, but it's gonna happen everywhere you go.
I mean, it's gonna happen everywhere you go. It's gonna happen in every industry, in every aspect of life, school, work, music, business, whatever you're doing. With the Me Too thing, once again, I only saw of it what I saw on like Twitter and Facebook and social media, but I think like it's a mixed blessing. It has its pros and its cons. In like one way, it's shining a light on people and letting like individuals know they're not the only one, they can come forward. But also I think it's like, and I hate to use this word, and I'm not downplaying it at all, because like people getting sexually abused and hurt and whatever is not something to mock or something to make fun of. It's also kind of like a trend, because people had like hashtag Amanda Todd, hashtag anti-bullying, hashtag Me Too, hashtag con 129, whatever, right? It just, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Go out of hand, man, for sure. Like, and
it goes.
And those sexual allegations were getting bad. Like, I feel like, in the negative light of the Me Too, I think women were just like maybe doing it as a revenge too. And even if like nothing really happened sexually, like even when I was in Toronto at that show with you, Raxx, and that girl's making a scene, I was like, asked one of the men, I'm like, hey, could you like help us escort this girl out of here? And he's like, I'm sorry, but even if I like verbally talk to her, she could accuse me of like something.
It's true, and I've had friends like be like with girls, and they just honestly like just touch the girl, and like they're drunk or they're like whatever, and it's like they just lose it, and then they're like, oh, he raped me, he hit me, da 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 da.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's awful, but there's guys like that. It's just people in general. It's not about
I know.
That's your generality.
People suck, dude.
The hashtag.
That kind of stuff is scary, because in my day job, I'm a teacher. And you have to be really aware of that and make sure you're never alone with the student.
Yeah.
And if you are, for some reason, you have to make sure you go open your classroom door so no one can say you were alone with the student and the door was closed.
That's sad.
You have to think about these things.
That's really sad.
It's better than nothing, though. Like, I mean, even though it's like trendy and it doesn't last and everyone jumps on the bandwagon, it's better than nothing. It's better than not having these issues be addressed at all. So, yeah.
I agree. I mean, there's positive and negative sides to everything, but I think it's good to focus on the positive at least. And I'm glad to see like the powerful people in the industry have some repercussions for their actions as well.
For sure.
Exactly. So if it's all about being positive and bringing repercussions in, do you try to put positive messages into your songs? And do you think hip hop should be message oriented? As an artist, do you think you have a responsibility to the youth in any way?
I felt that way. I'm just not saying it's right or wrong, but I felt something in my soul when I saw that Anaconda video, okay? I felt very affected by that Nicki Minaj video. And I thought in my mind, you know, if I had that great of a following, I feel like it would be a bit of a responsibility to lead the youth in a positive way, which, you know, I also know is BS, because, you know, whatever she's doing is working for her, but I feel like if you are such a successful artist that way, like, you should be conscious of the messages you're sending, like, even the way you dress as well, like, I don't know, like, when I was a kid, like, the bee's knees was the Spice Girls, and they dressed like skanks, but, you know, I turned out okay.
Yeah, but like, honestly, that's good, but for me, like, because of how I am as an artist, I just think you just gotta be, like, you gotta be true to yourself, and that's what this industry does to you. It molds you into what they want you to be. But like, a big inspiration for me is J. Cole, and he's just very true to himself. And I just think that they, like, you should not. I don't even know what I'm saying. Anyway, go.
I think whether an artist is trying or not, their song is always going to be message oriented. Whether that message is to, like, just kick back and have a good time, whether that message is to, like, think and be introspective, whether that message is to, like, pray, whether that message is to, like, go custom-ish or whatever, like, every song has a message subconsciously delivered to that person that's listening. I think if I'm staying true to myself and I'm delivering my voice and my outlook and my opinion, that message is kind of, in a way, always going to be positive. It's only going to be negative if I'm, like, lying or making things up or, you know, not relating to my own life or my own personal views. And
so what you're saying is you feel it would be painted in a negative light if you weren't being true to yourself, whether the message was positive or negative.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I was trying to say, but I couldn't figure it out.
I don't know if that's, like, right. Maybe, like, some people will, like, think, like, that's not right. But I know, like, my moral fiber, what speaks to me, what I feel deep down in the day is, yeah, I live this, I'm saying this, I'm going to say it, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
And this is how it's going to be portrayed through my eyes. And the way other people want to interpret it is out of my control. But all I know is that, like, I'm being sincere to who I am and my life and my experiences. And I'm, like, going and, like, encouraging, like, something that I haven't lived or experienced or can back up, like, 100%. And do I feel artists have a responsibility to be good role models? I actually don't. I don't think it's their responsibility, you know? Like, sometimes I just want to hear nothingness. Sometimes I don't want to be influenced. Sometimes I just want to lay back and have a drink and smoke a joint. And I don't want to think about anything except for the beat. And sometimes I want some mindless lyrics in my ear.
Well, so, and I think... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Right there.
Go ahead.
Well, and I think what the youth do are they're putting artists on too much of a pedestal as well. Like with, you know, Eminem talking how the youth were, you know, looking at him as a role model, and he was saying, I'm just a regular person, like, you know, and people were taking his content way too literal. You know, he's like, I'm not actually doing these things. I'm just telling a story, and it's my own personal release, and you got to stop looking up to these artists as essentially a god, because it puts pressure on the artist to, you know what I'm trying to say though?
Yeah,
They gotta stop putting artists on such a pedestal.
Absolutely.
I feel you're right. Like, just talking to you more changed my perspective. I don't think it's the artist's responsibility.
Not at all. And you got to think, like, some people out there, different strokes for different folks. Some people, they are like listening to music and it's like their weed toke or their cigarette or their drink or their whatever. So like let them have something to indulge in that's like mindless and like just takes them somewhere else, just like a substance would or whatever, right?
And I think that, yeah,
you know, like, so it is totally okay to have like that little bit of mindless, take you away into another realm music. Not everything has to have a message. Not everything has to be like so conscious or so like forthcoming or whatever. But there's a time. I think it's all about balance. There's a time and a place for everything.
And
I agree.
Art is subjective, right? Like that's what it is. Like you look at a painting, one person's gonna be like, I see this. The other person's gonna be like, I see this. Like same with music. Music's the same way. Because I don't play country music, but some people do.
Well, I think they're blaming other artists too. Like I've seen like Tupac or Eminem on different occasions being the youth blaming them that they influence them to go out and commit a crime because they were listening to these artists. And you know, I think maybe they're just using that as a blaming tool, like, you know, because Tupac had even said in an interview, yo, if a kid's gonna go out and shoot somebody, they're gonna do that on their own. They can't be blaming, you know, a song that they heard.
I think to me, that boils down to the household and your environment and your upbringing. I always said, like, you shouldn't fear what you can't control, and you shouldn't try to control what you fear. And the media and the outside world is always going to be changing. It's always going to be spinning. It is up to you to teach your kids what's what. It's not up to the rest of the world to like accommodate or bow down. I mean, like, sure, maybe like voice it, go after it and try to like change it. But know in the back of your mind, and at the end of the day, the outside world is still going to keep spinning. And it's up to you to teach your kids, like, you know, this is fantasy. This is reality. This is like what's good. This is what's bad. Listen to it and enjoy it, but don't go out and do it. That's up to the parents, 100%.
All right, great discussion being had here with Skulastic, Cassette, and Raxx. This is Women in Hip Hop 9, and we got to run some spots, but we'll continue this on the other side. There's about 10 minutes left of the discussion that we recorded, and then we'll be getting back to the music, celebrating International Women's Day all night long. 6 hours of content on Word is Bond and Dope FM. Keep it locked. You are listening to Women in Hip Hop 9. This is the roundtable discussion with Cassette, Skulastic, and Raxx.
Word is Bond.
Sometimes I've been influenced by a song to do something positive, and people say they get influenced by a song to do something negative. I'm like, that's just an excuse, you know?
That's what I'm saying, and it's excuse, yeah.
Because you can be influenced by anything. And I like Skulastic earlier said, you know, every song has a message, whether they've intended it to or not. And I remember after Mac Miller died from drugs, I saw a meme, you know, those memes where it's like a picture and they put words over top. And the words over top was a picture of him, and it said, do drugs even if it kills you. And I didn't see anyone sharing that image, and I thought, wow, that's so powerful, I want to share it. But I censored myself and I never shared that image. But that's what it seems to me a lot of the modern commercial hip hop is saying all the time. You know, do drugs, just get turned up, have parties, don't do anything significant. And it really bothers me. That's why I listen to music like you ladies in the underground all the time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, even when you asked that question just now, we automatically gravitated towards a negative side of it, but like, you know, it could be really positive too. Like, even when I've rapped in some of my songs, I wanted to talk about female empowerment because I wanted to say, like, to the women out there, it's okay to like be a strong female and not feel insecure about it too. You could have that responsibility in a positive way as well, and represent who you feel and who you want to be, and transmit that in your music to the listeners.
Nice. Well, we're just about out of time for this hour of radio.
That went by fast.
Yeah, I think we could keep talking the entire night and just have a total talk show and no music.
Do the 24-hour show.
Well, this is an overnight show for International Women's Day, but every year my station does do 24-hour show called All Women's Voices, and I volunteered to do something for that a few years back, and they're like, oh yeah, but you can't talk in it. So Skulastic had to interview herself, and it was hilarious.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I was like, let's talk about this, but you have to like talk about it like you're introducing it yourself, and then throw to this song. So it was fun. I like doing those.
It was dope.
Yeah.
I have them up on my YouTube actually.
Oh, nice.
That podcast, that recording.
Yeah. So let's do some closing thoughts right now. Anything that you want to say to wrap this up, and then let people know about your music, how they can find it, how they can connect with you if they liked what they heard. And I'm definitely going to include your music. It probably has been sprinkled into this hour. If not, it'll definitely be sprinkled into the next. So keep it locked to Word is Bond Rap Radio and Dope FM all night long. So let's do our wrap-ups.
Closing thoughts would be, in this world of like media and bunch of different messages shooting at you from a lot of different angles, always take the time to find yourself. Never be the one to jump on the bandwagon, and have your own thoughts. Stay true to yourself. Sounds cliche. And you know what? Sometimes your own thoughts, they don't form overnight. They form over time, experience, and like longevity. So don't think that you're gonna wake up one day and know like what's right or wrong. The line is always gonna be blurry, but it's gonna be adventurous and for you to decipher. Anyways, once again, Skulastic, SKULATIC. You can catch me on YouTube /ScholasticC. Catch me on Instagram /Scholastic. Catch me on Facebook /Scholastic. Once again, write my own rhymes, make my own beats, and recently started doing my own videos. Yeah.
Get it, girl. My name's Raxx. It's RAXX. You can find me on Instagram. That's where all my stuff is. I'm working on all my Spotify stuff right now. Coming out soon. My Instagram is Raxx, RAXX, official music. I have a bunch of big shows coming up. You can catch those there. What else do I want to say? Yeah, I want to say to all the girls out there, if you're scared about what people are going to think, like for a long time, I didn't come out with music because I was like, people aren't going to take me seriously as this little white female rapper from Collingwood, Ontario. Like, she doesn't have bars, da-da-da-da. And it took a long time for me to finally get the confidence to kind of do it in front of people. And then once I did that, like, and just started getting the momentum going, like, it's been blowing up. So, you know what, like, don't be scared to, like, get yourself out there. If you're one of these girls listening, like, scared to put your music out there, it doesn't matter what type of music it is. It can be country music, it can be, you know, like R&B, like anything, pop, whatever. Just put it out there. Like, don't be scared about what other people think about you. That's number one. Like, just do you, and that's it. That's what I got.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Like, being a female in the rap industry, you gotta have a thick skin. Being a musician in any industry, you gotta have a thick skin. And I mean, there's been times where you can be easily broken down, and you just gotta pick yourself back up and know why you're doing this music and feel that satisfaction within itself. So I just want to say that to the fellow artists, like, it's not easy, but you gotta hold your own and be confident in what you're doing, and you're gonna feel like you're questioning yourself along the way, but you gotta strive on. And I feel like a lot of the support comes from the people that are believing in you, and when you see the people believing in you, it transmits within yourself. And I think we need to support each other as well. Like, a lot of women can be really catty, and, you know, they're out for themselves. And I realized a long time ago, instead of every man for himself, everything is a lot more stronger when you team up together. And so
Facts.
So anyways, my music page is SoundCloud/McLennan, -1. My Instagram is Cassette604, and you can find me on Facebook fan pages, just Cass, CASS. Come support.
Well, thank you once again for being part of Women in Hip Hop 9. This is our annual International Women's Day special on Dope FM and Word is Bond Rap Radio. And once again, well beyond 2 hours, so keep it locked all night long for real hip hop music and talk.